minutes to walk you through how to make a really cool Christmas wreath. I was out and about and this little guy caught my attention. So he is my inspiration for the wreath today. I also picked up some ribbon that I thought would match the theme really nice. So I may or may not use those. So you can see how they all nicely match. When I look for ribbon, I really try and look for coordinating colors and a little bit of sparkle and everything. Because of course glitter is my favorite color. I had this ribbon from a previous project, so I might use that. I also found some really cool snowflakes that I thought would work in the theme as well. And then the last thing that I try to do is incorporate black. Just a touch of black to tie everything together for all of my wreaths, no matter what I do. So I've got black ribbon, I've got a solid black. And again, I may or may not use it, it just depends on how things go. And I also found the ever so popular buffalo plaid in both red and black and white. So I might try and incorporate some of these in there as well. So we'll make a deco mesh wreath, or deco mesh wreath, however you say it. So you can find these at any craft store. I chose the red with the red glitter, the red shiny in it, to be really festive. And then the other piece that you need is the wreath frame itself, and this is what we'll attach everything to. The last piece of this for supplies, you'll need chenille stems, or pipe cleaners as I call them, and I've already taken them and cut them in half so that they're the right size for the project. The first thing we want to do is unwrap our red mesh, and we want to start the very first edge just by gathering it together. This will be the first edge that we attach to the wreath itself. So once you gather it, you're going to grab one of the chenille stems and just twist it around the wreath. This is probably the most time consuming part, because what I like to do, each of these rolls is 30 feet long. So I typically will take a roll and I'll get about 29 to 30 sections. What I mean by sections is I'm going to continue to gather, and each section will be just about 10 inches long on a roller. So I'll gather it and twist it with the chenille stem, and then I'll take another 10 inches and twist it with the stem, gathering all along the way. You'll continue this process for the entire length of the roll of deco mesh. All right, so now that we have all of our chenille stems in our mesh section, which I always feel like it looks like sausages. So we've got our sausage sections. I took the liberty to count how many sections there were. So when you count, you don't want to count this first one because it doesn't really count as a bubble, because what we're going to end up doing is we're going to loop these. They end up looking like a loop together. So each section itself, when you count it, ended up being 68. So on this wreath itself, there's 6 sections, or you can see how it's sectioned off. So there's 6 sections around this wreath. So with 68 sections of mesh, if you divide 68 by 6, that ends up being right around 11 to 12 sections on each part of this wreath. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the chenille stems and we're going to twist them now onto the wreath form. And what I like to do is start and go inside out, inside out, inside out, and just alternate them until we get through the entire wreath. So let's start off with our first end. And when we do this, since it's our end and we want to hide this raw edge, I just really just tuck it underneath so that it looks nice and neat on the front side. And I start at one of the sections. If you can see that, start at one of the sections. and then I'll go to the outside from there. So that's the first one, and then we'll just go to the next one, which will be on the outside. Let me just twist. You don't have to worry about this at this point, how these look, because once you're finished, we'll go back and we'll fluff everything up and make sure that it is the way that we would like it. All right, so those are the first two loops, and you can see on the back how we just tie them together. A lot of folks that I've seen on YouTube making similar type of wreaths, they only use one roll of deco mesh. I like to use two because what I want is for all of this to be nice and tight together, because if I hang it, I don't want to be able to see through it and see the frame of the wreath. So I want it to be nice and full. So I prefer to use two because it looks a lot better and a lot more fuller. All right, so I've gotten all of the loops attached, and you can see how that looks. You can see on the back, and I guess I cheated a little bit because I did run out of red and had to switch to blue and purple, but you're not going to see that from the front, so not a big deal. And now, once you have all of the loops attached, you just want to go around and see if there's any spots that look a little flat. You want to fluff them out, just make sure that the loops look like they're even. And once you do that, then you're really ready to start with the fun part of attaching all of the ribbons and Santa onto the front of your wreath. So I'm pretty happy with the way that this turned out. You can see how nice and full it is, so when I hold it up, you can't see through it to see any of the wire frame. And again, that's why I like to use two of the mesh rolls, because I want to hide all of that frame that's behind there. So when I look at this and I stand back, I just give it an eye and turn it a little bit to see where I want my decorations to sit. So specifically with the Santa Claus that I'm going to put on there, I want to see like where I feel he's going to sit the best. And I think I like him right there. So I'm going to plan to attach him last, but in this general position. So the next thing I want to do is I want to take a look at which ribbons I want to use. I certainly have a lot more than what I'm actually going to need. I think to give it some nice contrast, we've already got the glitter in the Santa plaque and the wreath itself, so I don't think I'm going to use this one. But I think a nice contrast would probably be if we used this white with the oh so famous red pickup truck that everybody seems to be crazing about as well. I think I also want to use this black and white buffalo plaid. And for the third color, or for the third ribbon, I think I'm going to use this one. It's got the white accent with the red glitter. It's a nice wide ribbon. And those three together will look really nice. One other tip that I give too is whenever you're picking out ribbon, I always like to use ribbon that have a wire edge. And the reason being is because whenever you're attaching it to the wreath and you're all finished, you're going to go back and decide the perfect placement for each of these ribbons individually. The wire edge really helps it stay in place and stay right where you want it to be. So I always look for those wire edge ribbons just to make sure it holds the shape that I want it to have. The other thing I had too is I had a little of this deco or this plastic tubing, which is also pretty cool to work with, from another wreath that I had done. I think I'm also going to incorporate a little bit of this. I like to make a loop out of it, and it adds a really nice, fun, whimsical touch to each of these wreaths. So the first thing that I'm going to do is measure out sections of ribbon. And for this, I'm gonna do about 8 inches for each section. So we're gonna measure out about 8 inches, and I like to use odd numbered sections. So I'm gonna do 5 8-inch sections of each of the ribbons that we picked out. It doesn't need to be absolutely perfect, but as close as it can be to being even. All right, so now that we have each of the different ribbons cut to size, the next thing we want to do is finish the edges. To make your wreath look really nice, you're just going to take your ribbon, fold it in half, and then cut it to a V on each side. So that you have a nice finished edge. And you'll do that to each of the sections that you've cut to size. All right, so now we have everything cut, and thank God glitter is my favorite color, because I kid you not, this glitter is never getting out of my kitchen. So the first thing we want to do, now that we have all of our edges finished, is we're going to just stack each of the ribbons on top of each other. And I start with the largest, or the one that I want to be in the background. So since these two are about the same size, well, they are the same size, I'll alternate them so the different ones are in front along the wreath. So for the first one, we'll do the glitter in the back, then the Christmas tree, and then the buffalo plaid. And I'll gather right about where the middle is, and just sort of fold it in half, because what we're going to do is we're going to take this middle and we're going to find one of the chenille stems from the inside near where we want it to be placed, and we're just going to attach the ribbon with the chenille stems that are already in the wreath itself. So we'll see these just kind of peeking out. And we'll just repeat this 5 more times, gathering each of the ribbons together around the edge of the outside of the wreath. So we'll do 1, 2, 3, and the 4th one. Just folding them in half, and then we'll again attach them evenly spread throughout the wreath. All right, so we've got everything attached, and you see how nicely you're able to place the ribbon and position it just the way you want it with the wired edges. I also put a little bit of the silver tubing that we had, and again, it's just finding a piece of the chenille wire on the back, just twisting it and placing it where you want it. So once you've gotten this far, I'm pretty satisfied with the placement of everything. And the last thing we need to do is put this guy in place. So he's going to sit right there, but I'm going to tell you my last secret for the day. My last tip and trick, and every crafter needs to have this in their stash. Gorilla tape. Gorilla tape is magical when it comes to attaching anything to your wreath. So what I like to do is just take a chenille stem, get some of the Gorilla Tape, and just tape the chenille stem to the back of the plaque or whatever you're working with. I'm just going to use 2 stems because this stuff is really, really strong, and that's all that I should really need. So I'm going to tape this to St. Nick's, the back of St. Nick. Tape it there. Smooth it down real nice and tight. And I'm going to put another one right here. Smooth it down nice and tight. And this tape is really, really that strong. It's way stronger than duct tape. I've used duct tape and it works okay in a pinch, but when I have Gorilla Tape, it's definitely the go-to because it really holds up. This will be on my front door, so it'll be in the cold. My porch is covered, so it's not going to get wet or anything, but the Gorilla Tape will really withstand the cold temperatures and just hold the plaque on really nice. So I'm going to take St. Nick and sit him back down, and I'll take the chenille stem and twist it to the wire frame. Just like so. We'll secure him really good. Just twist it around a couple times and he's not going to go anywhere. And we'll take the second one. So there's the first one. The second one, we'll let his feet dangle. And we'll grab the second one about right there. Twist it around the frame. And there you have it. There's a completed wreath all ready for your front door. I hope you enjoyed the video today. If you can do me a solid and just hit that subscribe button here on YouTube. And you can also follow me on Pinterest, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. It's Punkin_works. Punkin is Punkin_works. Thanks, and I hope you enjoyed.